You know, this is a generational cycle, and it's something that was learned. It continues to happen from generation to generation until someone breaks that cycle. They learn to be emotionally absent and still active and involved. And as the years and as the parent changes, they got better at it. Hi, Bright Soul. If you're carrying the ache of childhood emotional neglect, the absence of the parent you needed, or the pain your younger self carries today, take a deep breath. You're in a safe place. I'm Beverly, a survivor turned owner, a messenger of grace, and a life coach who learned to let God meet and heal the younger me. Now, I want to help you understand your story. I want God to restore and heal your inner child, and I want you to take ownership of your adult life. So grab your journal and your favorite drink. Let's settle in, let's breathe, and begin.
Before we get started, please note, this podcast may include discussions about emotionally difficult family dynamics, including emotionally absent or unavailable parents. Everything shared here is for educational and motivational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please seek support from a licensed professional if you need it.
Well, hello, bright souls. Hey, welcome back to Walk in Wisdom Wednesday. I am so excited yet again to have you guys back. I hope that you look forward to these episodes. Walk in Wisdom Wednesday tends to be where I give you a little bit of wisdom as a friend, as a family member, someone that you can trust to lay down the truth for you and be able to help you through your moments. Now, listen to this. When we talk about emotionally absent parents or conflict avoidant parents, we often focus on the behaviors that we saw, like the silence, the distance, the shutdown. But a lot of times, what's missing in most conversation is the impact that these patterns had on children as they evolved or developed. And research shows that children need emotional connection. I remember watching a show. They did a test. This was way back. I'll probably say early 2000s. They had these children in a room and they wanted to see how they reacted to certain types of situations. You had children who were never nurtured when they were younger, when they were babies, and how they reacted with other children, how they reacted in a room by themselves, and so forth. And it was really interesting to see how these children developed at a young age. And these were toddlers, probably toddlers, if not more than 7 years old. So when I come to you, I'm not coming to you for something that I alone experienced. This is something that we all have experienced. You're not alone. Research show that children need emotional connection. They need responsiveness and they need parents to build that secure, close relationship. Because when we become adults, when we grow up without these foundations, we don't know how to express it. And we don't know how to navigate around a lot of people. Naming the issue and closing the gap is the missing language that I'm giving you guys today to expose where the wounds are hidden. And today, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get clarity to what it is you experienced. Now, before we do that, I have a spotlight moment. Today's spotlight moment comes from Tifrate81. And Tifrate81 wrote, "Such a great listen. I really enjoyed the podcast. Authentic, interesting, and well done. Excited and can't wait to hear more episodes. You know what, Tiffany? Thank you so much for being a supporter. I really appreciate you. Your words mean more to me than you really know. And they remind me why I have these conversations, why these conversations matter, why this topic matters. We have to heal. And if we have learned how to heal ourselves and we went through the process and we did the work, it is our responsibility to share. It is our responsibility to let people know that there is hope for what we've gone through. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. So thank you, Tiffray81. And if you would like to have a spotlight moment, all I ask is that you leave a review on Apple Podcasts right there. All you have to do is click on my cover, go to review, click on review, mark a 5 for me, and then leave a message. If you're not on Apple Podcast, you can leave a message. You can do a rating. You can do whatever you need to do. You can even send me an email. I'll read that out loud too if you would like me to. So let's move along, you guys. I don't want to make this too much longer for you. So let's talk about the parent and what they didn't know they were doing. So when we start with the parents, we're not blaming them, but we just want to understand their pattern. So again, we're talking about the physically present but emotionally absent parent. Emotional absence creates invisible labor for the child. So let's talk about the parents. You know, this is a generational cycle. And it's something that was learned. It continues to happen from generation to generation until someone breaks that cycle. They learn to be emotionally absent and still active and involved. And as the years and as the parent changes, they got better at it. The parent that was emotionally absent but physically there, they also hid inside activities. If you were the kid that were in all the sports events, church events, it was because they wanted to have you in so many things that they could avoid emotional conversations. Now, that's not true for all parents. I'm going to put that caveat out there. But the more activities you're in, the less they have to spend time with you one-on-one trying to figure out what to say and how to say it and what to talk about. It made it easier for them. It made it easier for them to just avoid the emotional conversations. Now, these parents, they were involved. They showed up at your games, they played, they were at your school events. But again, the connection was superficial. You know, they meant well, but they could only provide for your physical needs. That emotional connection it was a lot of work for them. The bad side about that is they also held on to these high expectations. It was almost as if they lived vicariously through your eyes and wanted you to be the one to push through, you to do it on your own, you to grow up quickly. But they never offered that emotional support. So they really had these high expectations, but they didn't offer you any type of support. Another way this came out was when you were hurting, they told you to toughen up instead of comforting you. They dismissed your feelings. They left you feeling unheard or invisible. They avoided the emotional conversation. They shut down when things got heavy or changed the subject. And it almost made you feel like you were the problem. I remember one time when I was a little girl, I was about 10 years old, and I started my womanhood. And I told my dad about it, and it was like he disappeared. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that would scare any man, to be honest, if their child went to them. But it wasn't a conversation of, you know what, you're my daughter, this is a precious moment, you need to protect yourself, you're coming into womanhood. It was none of that. He completely went, what do you call it? Incognito on me. Like, he went to go get one of my aunts and she did the rest, and it was as though nothing happened afterwards, you know? So you feel that loneliness as you're going through life. And then if they did show any type of affection, it was so out of the blue that it almost scared you because it was just inconsistent. It was, you know, it might have been warm. It might have even, you know, been congratulatory, but it just didn't feel authentic. And truthfully, they just didn't know how to navigate it. They didn't know how to navigate their own emotions, so they did not know how to navigate yours. That's what wisdom is about. Wisdom is about understanding that it wasn't about you. It was about how their emotions were limited. But as a child, you just didn't know that. You only knew what you were feeling on the inside, and you have very little words for it. You're young, you're a child, you don't have a full vocabulary on what you're feeling and how you're feeling because that's something that you were supposed to be taught. And so what happens to you as a child in that type of environment, you learn early that emotional connection was unpredictable. If at all, maybe you could predict it because you knew that you weren't going to get a response. You were hoping to get oh, you did great. You got an A on your paper. Oh, you did great. My dad would be, okay, well, good job. No connection. You felt ignored. You were invisible. You felt like you were the extra child in your home. And many times, the oldest child, if there's multiple children in the home, it's the oldest child that feels this way. Sometimes you just feel like you didn't learn how to express yourself because they didn't give you the words for it. You were the experiment child because you were the first one. You got everything. And then probably by the second or the third, if there were seconds and thirds, they got lighter. And the last one, they probably was just so tired that it was, that child got whatever they wanted. But you grew up with the side of the parent that was emotionally blind. It wasn't because you lacked intelligence, it was because they lacked guidance. They didn't know how to navigate their own feelings. So the cycle continued. As you see, I keep saying the same thing, and it's because it's the same way. The cycle continued, the cycle continued, the cycle continued. They didn't know any other way. So what happened to you? You started developing low self-esteem. You believed that you didn't deserve any type of affection or attention. You learned to really hide your emotions to avoid any type of criticism or rejection. You also became the independent one. You learned how to navigate by using external factors such as other people to make you feel validated, other resources in order to get what you needed. You learned how to reach out to others instead of reaching at home. And you know what that made you feel like? It made you feel really lonely. Even if you were in a house of so many people, you felt alone because you had to do it for yourself. You struggled to really trust people because you didn't feel emotionally safe. Your parents didn't make you feel safe at all. They didn't express it. So, how can you be safe? And you reaching out to external resources grew you up pretty quickly. You learned how to be an adult really early. You know, my first job was at 12 years old. 12 years old, I was working. And that was just an activity so that he and I didn't have to deal with each other because it was in the summertime. So, summertime, no school. Guess what? Everybody's just sitting around looking at each other because we don't know how to connect. And he's the adult and I'm the child. So, what do? I'm waiting for you to respond. I'm waiting to see what kind of mood you're in. I'm trying to figure you out. I'm scanning the room to see, am I okay? Am I safe? Can I sit in this room with you or not? I had to grow up very quickly. And I was always the fixer, fixing everybody else, the strong one, the helper. Later in life, you learn that it's hard to build intimate relationships because you didn't know how to navigate your vulnerability. And you know what? That wasn't your fault. You just learned how to survive. And then you became an adult. You became an adult. And what does adulthood look like? Well, you're a loner. You would rather be alone at home, not around people, than to be out. And even if you're out, you just feel out of place. You battle low self-esteem and emotional insecurity. It doesn't matter the titles you've earned. It doesn't matter if you own a business. It doesn't matter if you reach the highest pinnacle of life. You still feel like you don't deserve it. And you also feel like you're not enough. That hidden quiet belief of, I don't feel like I'm enough. I'm not worthy of love. You then turn around and you start internalizing your parents' emotional distance and reflecting them as your worth. And that turns into anxiety, depression, attachment wounds, and you don't know how to manage your emotions. And that's just because they didn't model it for you. So when you get into relationships, they're unstable. You either overgive, you overperform, you overfunction, you do too much. You do too much. And you withdraw. You also try to become a perfectionist. Being a perfectionist helps you to numb the situation. If I could just get it right, if I can just get it right, I need to do this, I need to do that. It affects your self-worth, your resilience, and your mental wellness. They all take a hit because you're constantly in unrest. Your emotional regulation is off. And those wounds, they affect your decisions, your relationships, your sense of being. So let's talk about relationships. You know, before I got married, I I would tell you I knew how to pick them. I knew how to pick them. I picked men who did the same thing my dad did the same thing my mom did. The disappearing act, the emotionally unavailable, the abusiveness. I picked partners who were familiar. What about you? Do you pick people who are drawn to you, who are emotionally unavailable? Do you get into relationships and they're superficial? You don't open up because you're scared to be vulnerable? Are you the person that constantly gives? Gives, gives, gives. I'll clean for you. I'll cook for you. I'll do whatever you want me to do to earn their love, to get them to express their love towards you. How about when someone asks you about how you're feeling? Because you don't have the words for it, so the only thing you know how to do is shut down or lash out. And sometimes you sabotage your relationships, especially if the person's treating you good. When I met my husband, he is a really good man, to me, very patient. When I met him, I was waiting. I was bracing myself. My whole body was bracing myself and ready for him to walk out the door because I kept saying to myself, I don't deserve anybody good. It's not going to last. I was bracing myself. And guess what? Here it is 15 years later, and he's still here. My craziness and all. It was hard for him, I'm pretty sure, because I was Miss Independent. I was Miss Independent. I was the strong one. I still am a little bit, the strong one. And that's because I had to be. Here's the truth. When emotional connections are missing in childhood, something else forms beneath the surface. And that is this belief that you must do life alone. You can't have nobody help you. You got to do it yourself. I'm the strong one. I'm independent. But Bright Soul, can I tell you something? You do not have to survive alone. If that was the case, God would only made one. He would have made two. He would only made one. As a matter of fact, Scripture says, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. Is not easily broken. So what does that mean? That means you can't do this alone. We were meant to be in relationship. And I'm not talking about just intimate relationship. I'm talking about friendships, having bonds with people who can help you through the process. See, when a parent avoids conflict or shuts down during emotional moments, the child learns that expressing needs is unsafe. So going back to that relationship part, you don't feel safe and you have to retrain your mind to feel safe around people. You begin to internalize the belief that your emotions causes problems. You don't express emotion. As an adult, when you struggle with this, you don't know how to advocate for yourself. You don't know how to speak up. You don't know how to be in relationship with people. Another thing, there are some adults who freeze during conflict. There are some adults who lash out. And then there are those who over-explain. You're trying not to be misunderstood. And that often leads into a lot of arguments, a lot of conflict, a lot of yelling to be heard, to be seen, and it's unnecessary. This is the kind of behavior that's displayed as an adult. And this is what was shaped by you because you didn't know how to navigate your emotions. These patterns shaped how you see yourself. So growing up without emotional connection, it taught you as a child that you were unworthy of attention and that your voice didn't matter. Growing up with emotional distance teaches a child that love is something they must earn, must perform for. And oftentimes, you have to be silent in order to get it. So if you are the top earner, you may get, oh, that was great. But you have to keep performing to get that, oh, that was great, in order to get any type of emotion from them. So this creeps into your adulthood, needing affirmation all the time. Needing to know in your relationships, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you care for me? What do you think about me? What about your work habits? Always trying to be the best, always trying to take on more than you can handle just so that you can hear, oh, you're my best star on the team. And what about even in your spiritual life? You're the one that shows up at the church. You're the sweeper. You're the accountant. You're the prayer warrior. You're in every group. You're seen. You're doing. So let me give you a little bit of wisdom. And this is not to judge you. You do not have to perform in order to get God's love. You just don't have to. Wisdom acknowledges the parent's limitation, but it doesn't minimize what you've been through. Wisdom also helps you see what you learned for survival so that you can heal. And you know what else? Wisdom is going to stretch you a little bit. It's going to ask you to start building some emotional relationships. It's going to start stretching you to make connections. And that is because you need to experience something that you never received. What does that look like for you? Is that allowing a partner to come into your life and really get to know you? Letting them know that I need to express something, but I don't have the words? Is that building relationship with your coworkers? And actually going to lunch with them? What does that look like for you? Here's your wisdom practice for the week. I want you to notice one moment where you silence yourself. And I want you to ask yourself, is this silence protecting me or is it repeating the past? If you have an idea and you don't express yourself, if someone tries to talk over you and you shrink back, if you go along with things in your relationships and you don't share your ideas or your thoughts. I want you to notice those moments. I don't want you to demand confrontation. I just want you to be aware. Awareness is the first step to your emotional freedom. Now that you have knowledge and wisdom, guess what? You're held responsible. You cannot change the parents you had, but you can change the patterns you inherited. So, bright souls, where does your healing begin? If any of this resonated with you, and let's just say you've gone through the therapy and you've done the work, but you're feeling stuck, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to my website, 9crownsofgrace.life. And I like the life part because that's what it's all about, is about our lives. 9crowns with an S of grace.life. And I want you to take the assessment and see where you are in this journey. And after you take the assessment and you feel like you need to talk about it, I want you to complete the form. Let's do a 30-minute free discovery call. And let's work through it. Let's talk about it. And let's grow and let's go on this journey together. I want you healed and I want you to walk in your ownership. I want you to experience freedom, just like me. Well, bright soul, that's my time. I hope that you have a good rest of the week. You brighten my life every time I come on here, every time I check to see who's tuned in. I am just so amazed and I am so honored and humbled to be part of your journey. So, until we meet on Friday, I'll talk to you soon. Well, bright soul, I pray today's episode met you with God's gentleness. If something touched your heart, I would really love to hear from you. You can leave me a review on Apple Podcast, or you can send me an email and share what God stirred in your heart. Or if you want to go deeper, you can order your Bright Soul Bundle Journal. It's on sale this month. It's a quiet way to meet God and meet yourself. Join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as we keep healing with God. Until then, let your soul breathe.